Hi guys, welcome to the basic variables exercise. In this exercise we're just going to get an introduction to variables in P5.js and we're going to try and draw this row of black circles on our square blue canvas. So one thing with variables that they're good for is setting things that are common, setting a common value that you might reuse throughout your code. In this case we can see there's a common value which is the size of the circle, the color of the circle and the Y position of the circle. So the position from the top of the canvas to the circle is the same on all three circles. The thing that is different is the X position, which is the distance from the left hand side of the canvas. So here what we're going to first do is we have to declare our variables. We're going to declare our variables outside of any functions so that we can use our variables in any of the functions that we write. So we could probably declare these up the top of the document, but I'm not using them in the setup function, so it doesn't matter, but maybe it's good practice to keep your variables up the top of your file. And you can see that so far we have a canvas that is 500 by 500 and it's got a blue background. The two variables that we're going to set, as I mentioned, were the Y position, so the distance from the top to where the circle is, and for that we're going to set 250 because we want it to be in the center of the canvas. And the diameter of the circle, we're going to set the diameter of the circle at 80. So you can see that the way you declare a variable is you use the keyword var. In some of the next lessons I'm going to use ES6 syntax, which is a JavaScript. JavaScript, like any software, has versions. The var keyword was for all versions before ES6, but the latest version of JavaScript uses a different keyword for variables. It has two keywords, let and const. So const is for a variable that will never change, and let is for a variable that will change. I'm going to use the const variable here. So you can use var. Var will work. Const will also work. Let will also work. So I don't want you to worry too much. I'm just going to introduce ES6 to you here. So const, because we're always going to, this Y position is always going to be the same. It doesn't change at any point in our functions. Yes, so here we are. So we've got so you set it by using the keyword const or var or let, and then you name your variable. This name can be anything. It could be Y, but I like to make my names of variables very accessible to others, because it's also, if I come back to this code in 3 months, I want to be able to know what the variables mean without having to sort of search where they're used throughout the code. And if someone else picks up my code, I want them to know instantly what that variable is. I don't want to make my code complex and bamboozle them. So Y position is about as declarative as it could get for this variable, and diameter is pretty good too. Yeah, diameter, everyone knows what diameter means, so that's great. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll set our fill to be 0 in our draw function, and then we'll draw our first circle. So our first circle, we use the ellipse function, and it's x, y, width, height, isn't it? So so our x position we're going to set ourselves. So we're going to make that 75. Our Y position, we're going to use the variable. So we're going to do Y pos, and brackets comes up with a drop down of the variables that you've declared up the top. So it's found Y position and it's telling us that it's a number. That's great. We'll have that. The width of the circle, of the ellipse, we want to be our diameter. There you go. Brackets comes up with diameter here, tells you it's a number. Yep, we'll have that. Let's save that, and there's our circle. It's on the left hand side. So here we're going to uncomment our lines here, which are which is the next circle. So the next circle is going to be, its x position is going to be 250. We want to appear right in the center here. We're going to use the same y position variable up here. We're going to use the same diameter and the same diameter here for width and height. So let's save that. There's our second circle. Let's do the same for our third. You can see this circle is 425 is its x position, so it's going to appear 425 pixels to the right hand side of the edge of the canvas, so it should appear somewhere around here. So let's save that. Great. There we go. So we've got our 3 circles. So you can see that this is handy. Right now it doesn't seem like it's much of a saving. You know, you could just write 250, 250, 250 in all of those y position spots there, but when you start to draw more things, if you need 100 circles, then it becomes very important to use variables and you know, efficiency savers, because if you then want to change the diameter of the circle in one spot, you can do this without searching through the whole code. So they've all got a little bit bigger. Let's make them even a little bit more bigger. There we go. So that's quite big. We could make them smaller. We could move them up. There we go. They've moved up. We could move them down. Great. There we go. So we're all doing this just by changing one variable. So that's the end of that exercise. The next exercise will go into variables in a bit more detail.